Hi, guys, and welcome back. My name is Heather, and this is your go to place for all things dark romance and writing tips. Today, we are going to talk about planning a dark romance series of 5 books, even more. If you're ready to embark, let's get started. Do you guys like my shirt? Ugh, Kakashi. I love him. Planning a series can be daunting, especially in the dark romance genre where emotional intensity and complex storylines are so important. But we all know how important series are when it comes to sell through, when it comes to marketing, and when it comes to just making a name for yourself and who you are as an author. In this video, we will break down how to plan a compelling and cohesive dark romance series over 5 books. Let's get started. So, number one, we're going to establish the overarching plot. Um, Typically, the thing with dark romance is it is going to be a series of standalones all set in the same world. What does that mean? Well, standalones are books that can be read in any order. That is what my dark hockey romance series is. Other times you'll find, especially in, let's say, dark mafia, sometimes college, not usually though, you'll have like a trilogy of books with the same characters who grow in a more dynamic series where you have to read book one in order to understand book two, right? So if you want to set yourself up for success, I would definitely plan on those standalone series. And even with a standalone, you still kind of need an overarching plot. So what unites everybody? For me, it's a hockey team. Some of it's very familial. So you'll have brothers, you'll have sisters, you'll have brothers and sisters, things like that. And that's going to help your readers understand the richness of your world, right? It's also the setting. So the academy itself, Crestwood Academy, that is also something that unites these people. It's something that they all have in common. So your overarching plot is going to be strong, a central storyline that spans all 5 books. So this could be a significant conflict, a dark secret, or a powerful antagonist that the characters must face. So kind of like in Harry Potter, right? But if you're just doing standalones, your overarching plot is the development of something, right? Not very helpful, but think about it like this. For me, every book takes place in a new month. I plan to have 12 books in this series. Right now, 7 are published. I'm writing the 8th one, which takes place in April. I started at book 1 in September, which is the start of the school year and preseason for hockey, right? So these are things that you need to kind of think about. This is the overarching plot. So in book 6, which is going to take place in March, they're doing playoffs right now. And the team as a whole is sort of part of that overarching plot. Now, if your characters are in a dynamic series, that's going to be something where your storyline threads through the first 3 books. Now, remember, I want to talk about 5 books because the more books that you have, usually your read through, if you do a good job, you're going to get more and more readers who want to read through these. And dark romance readers are whale readers. And what whale readers are people who devour books in a day, and they're on to the next one. So when you think about your series, think about the main theme and conflict that's going to drive the series. So for me, the theme of my series is that, as cheesy as it sounds, like love overcomes everything, right? And the way that I explore this theme, though, is through really dark situations and things that aren't going to be like it. The obstacles aren't going to be always, oh, we can just sleep it off or we can just push through it, right? These are really especially the heroes, they have a lot of wounds that they really have to go through in order to overcome and let themselves love truly and be vulnerable, be that person that the heroine needs them to be. And the heroine needs to be accepting, not only of the hero, but of herself. And so a lot of it is not only love for each other, but love for the self and accepting your flaws, accepting these things. And so for me, that's sort of this overarching thing of balance and equality and power dynamics. Those are themes that are going to run through each book, but I'm always going to give my characters a happy ending. So when we establish this overarching plot, it gives your series a direction, even if every book is going to have different main characters. Okay. But this will keep your readers hooked from book one to the next, and they will come back knowing what they can expect from your books. So on top of that, we're going to develop strong character arcs. Each book should contribute to the growth and development of your main characters. In dark romance, the hero and the heroine often undergo significant transformations influenced by their intense and sometimes tumultuous relationship. So plan out how your characters will revolve over the course of their book, but also the series. Readers fall in love with your characters, and so you want to make sure that they're going to pop in and sort of give these updates. And people want to see how they are. People want to see how Levi and Minka are in book 7. Now, do they pop up in book 7? I think they do, actually. And so part of that transformation is you want to know how these characters have changed, but how they've grown together. And that's really important too. And it's always a nice little Easter egg, right? So even though your series is a standalone series and you can read it sort of out of order, for all of the people who have read in order, dropping these little Easter eggs, they just love it. And so this is also going to help build your fan base because they can expect a lot of these Easter eggs as well. So strong character arcs make your characters relatable and their journeys satisfying, encouraging readers to stay invested throughout the series. So the third tip is create tropes before, like if you could plan even like we're talking about 5 books, right? If you can plan the first 5 books, just in general, like let's not overwhelm you, but like let's just say that you have a cute little notebook, right? Like let's bust out the Erin Condren, okay? And you have your theme, whatever your theme is. Okay, I want to explore power dynamics between, couples in college, right? What are your tropes going to be for the first 5 books? So for me, first book was revenge and enemies to lovers. Second book, boyfriend's older brother. So that played into forbidden romance. The third book, enemies to lovers, arranged marriage. Is there anything else? Yeah, that's good. The fourth book, age gap, professor student, Beauty and the Beast. Definitely enemies to lovers, a hint of second chance. So that's book 4. And then book 5 was revenge. And gosh, what was the other one? It wasn't it was forbidden romance. It wasn't enemies to lovers. Revenge and enemies to lovers. So we have our tropes. Now that you know your tropes and you know your connecting force, so for me, it was the hockey team, I can start planning out these characters. Because if I'm going to do my job right, I'm going to make sure that my characters start populating the book, even if it's not their book. So for example, Levi has a younger sister named, what's her name? Oh my gosh, I swear. I know the youngest sister is Celeste. I'm trying to remember the second sister. Hold, please. Okay, it's Rika. I totally forgot. Okay, so he has a younger sister named Rika. Okay. Minka's older brother is Henry, who's also on the team, but he doesn't have his book in these first 5 books, so we're not going to worry about him yet, even though he will make some appearances. Brooke, the heroine in book 4, is also Minka's best friend. So she is definitely going to be in Minka's book. Now, Brooke's lover, boyfriend, whatever you want to call him, he's going to be the professor in book 1. So we're already starting with a bunch of different characters that I can play around with and kind of hint at potential stories in the future. So book 3, we have Liam. Now, people love Liam. Ever since book 1, they wanted to know more about Liam because I populated him just enough to give a little bit of who he is as a character. And Ivy has also been mentioned a little bit in the first couple of books. So we have so in book 5, Sawyer is Liam's younger brother, and he used to be the fiance of Minka, our heroine in book 1, right? And Levi's little sister is the heroine in book 5, which is where this revenge plot comes into play. So if you noticed how I already had this dynamic, so even at the start of book 1, I already have some players that I can move around. That doesn't mean shoving all of these subplots in a book that doesn't belong to them. It's just a mention here, a mention there. And Liam, in fact, he only came onto the page a few times, but because of how I described him and because of the few little words that he said, if anything, like I think there's one scene in the first book where Levi is at the team's gym and he's like racing, he's like doing the bike, and then we have Liam running on the treadmill like smoking a cigarette, and he doesn't even say, I don't even know if he says anything, but Adrian is there, Adrian, who is also in book 2. And so it's sort of like I'm utilizing the characters as potential sounding boards, potential plot devices, but also with the hope of getting the readers invested in them already. Like I introduced Damian Sinclair, and he is not going to get his book until I think book 10. I think it's when it's going to be. And people have been asking for his book since book 1, but he's going to be a fun one to write. And I'm dragging this out on purpose because I want to pull everyone through this series. Anyway, now you can have a long series like mine. You only need 5, potentially 6 books if you'd like to do it that way as well. It's up to you. But if you can start figuring out who these players are going to be, at least in the first 5 books, so that means figuring out your tropes and figuring out who your characters are based on these tropes, you're going to start getting a structure of how you can start playing around in at least the very first book. So while the overarching plot or these themes that you've connected all of these stories with helps provides continuity, individual book plots keep the story fresh and exciting. So balancing all of that, the overarching plot, the themes with those individual book plots keeps the narrative dynamic and prevents it from becoming repetitive. But not only that, you're building your brand. When someone picks up a Heather C. Myers and Frankie Cardona book, they know exactly what they're going to get. It's going to be dark. There's going to be romance. There's not going to be too much intimacy, but there probably will be between 3 to 5 scenes. And it's always going to be cohesive, which means it's always going to be there for a purpose. They're not there to read prawn with plot, right? They're there to read a story about these characters and how the characters are changing each other. So again, I kind of already played into this, but the next point is foreshadowing and clues. So you can use foreshadowing and clues to build anticipation and suspense, obviously, but you can also do it to build anticipation. My gosh, my hair and my mouth. Anticipation for the next book. So again, that's planning these characters and plotting them out. And if you already know their tropes, you can hint at what their book is going to be. So for example, in book 2, in Adrian's book, I was already hinting at what Liam's book was going to be because I had a back and forth about Adrian and Sienna with Liam. And Liam mentioned, oh, he's going to get married. And they're asking, well, did you want it? Did you, and he's kind of not giving them these straight answers. And so we can already tell, okay, there's going to be an arranged marriage. But how that came to be is definitely not as direct as they make it seem, right? Okay, so this can make the story more engaging, and it helps reward the readers who have started at the beginning with you and who want the next book, right? So you can plan key reveals and twists carefully, place subtle clues in early books that hint at future events. So if you have an arranged marriage that doesn't actually happen in the book, you can definitely have a wedding on page in someone else's book. That could definitely do it. You could even create an epilogue or a bonus scene in order to get your readers signed up to your list, featuring that wedding scene. So again, we already touched on consistent themes, but just make sure that they are consistent. This is part of like, what is your why? Why are you writing this series? Why do you want to write dark romance out of all the different types of subgenres of romance? And really, really kind of do a deep dive of why that is. For me, I know that I love exploring heroes, especially heroes. My biggest pet peeve right now is we need to redeem our heroes. We need to take away their masculinity. We need to make them bend knees to, their female counterparts. We need to weaken them in order to make them worthy of our love. And that to me isn't true. I am right now, if you aren't watching the podcast that I do with my friend Chelsea, who is also a writer, we're watching Fallout, and oh my gosh, I am obsessed with Cooper Howard right now, and he is an anti-hero. And so what we talk about is just that we don't want him to have to sacrifice himself. We don't need him to martyr himself. We don't need him to do anything to be worthy of love except exactly be who he is. And that is a huge integral part of dark romance, I feel. All of my heroes, the only person that they're going to be vulnerable with or change just a little bit for is that heroine. Nobody else. So when you see these character arcs, it might be just an internal shift where they're getting over these wounds, and they're going to be extremely possessive over their heroines, their girls, their brides, whatever. And they're going to be masculine while they do it. And so that is sort of what I like to look at, is that acceptance. And again, it goes back for me to that self-acceptance and to the acceptance of each other. My favorite book in the series right now is book 7, and that is Everly and Cooper's book. And basically it is very, very grumpy sunshine, and he has so much angst in him, and she's just this ball of sunshine because she's been so overprotected, homeschooled, never had a boyfriend, never had a kiss before. And they're going to sort of clash because now that she's in college, one of her physical or her PE sort of credit she needs to be figure skating because she's not a hockey player and she's not a figure skater, so she still needs to do something active. And Cooper is this sort of disgraced NHL player who the only reason like he has this job of teaching these kids is because of that affiliation between the NHL and this school. And so he's out of the NHL because of some stuff that happened, and he and Everly really, really clash because he's completely abrasive. He is bitter. He is just all of these things for a variety of reasons that you will find, if you choose to read the book. I'm not trying to pitch the book, but essentially it's that he has to accept what happened to him. He has to accept himself the way that she accepts himself, right? And I think that the same could be said for her, because she goes through this very, very upbeat and positive, but she, oh gosh, her transformation, she suffers too. And they fall together, if that makes sense. And it's sort of like he can let down his guard because he knows that she's not going to judge him. So that is a powerful theme for me in dark romance. And I think it's like we all have our light and our shadow sides. And I think that for me, it's like that acceptance of our shadow side as well as our light. And sometimes it's our significant others, our partners, whoever they may be, they might be the only people who can accept us for this in this way. And that's all that's necessary, right? As long as we accept it ourselves, but that our partners do as well. And so that's what I like to explore. And so just making sure that you understand what you're trying to explore. You know, sometimes it's redemption, sometimes it's power, sometimes it's betrayal and love. They can all be explored in different ways across this series. And so motifs like a recurring symbol or a setting, again, it's the academy, it's hockey, it's all of these things that can help provide continuity and depth. And that's going to make your series really, really well-rounded as well. So consistent themes and motifs create a cohesive and immersive reading experience, making your series feel like a unified whole. And that will add to your author brand. I know theme or consistent tropes might seem like, do we really need to do it? But you want someone to pick up your book and to know, oh, I'm picking up Frankie Cardona and Heather C. Myers. This is what this book is going to give me based on the other books, and just being consistent. So really quick, let's recap the key points for planning this series of over 5 books. Establish that overarching plot that connects things between them. And so for me, it's sort of like that passage of time at an academy, at a hockey team. Develop strong character arcs, ensure your characters grow and evolve. Create individual book plots. If you can plan out your series, or at least have some tropes and some characters and the inner relationships between these characters across 5 books, you're really, really setting yourself up for success. Foreshadows, clues, Easter eggs, those are all fun. That will help build anticipation and connect the series. And I've had reviewers say, oh, I picked up book 6, but I really liked seeing this, relationship explored, and I went back and I had to read all of them, and then consistent themes and motives reinforce continuity and depth. So by following these steps, you can craft a dark romance series that captivates readers and keeps them coming back for more. Remember, planning is key to creating cohesive and engaging series that stands the test of time. So thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like, comment, and subscribe for more content on writing and dark romance. And if you let me know in the comments, please, what is your favorite dark romance series? I am always ready to fill up my TBR. Until next time, happy writing. All right, bye.